Hey, Warpugs, today we're going to be checking out a request from the Mass Shadow. This is by TheVolgun, and this is called Quiet Days. He apparently released this almost 8 years ago, so this is one of his earliest videos. I always like looking at earlier videos and then later videos. I know I do it myself with my own. Like, I look at my first couple of lore videos that came out in about 2 years ago and look at how much I progressed since then. And the difference is just, for me, is staggering. And it's always great to see somebody improving and getting better and what they do. And I know, like I've said it before with SCP Illustrated, you can see his progression and how he's advanced himself. And it's great. It's fantastic. This is called Quiet Days. It's made by TheVolgun. So, we're going to get into this. I have no idea what this is about. All I know is that you guys wanted to see it, and here it is. Quiet Days. Let's go.
It was over. No one in the Foundation, from the lowliest security guard to the O5 Council, could quite explain exactly what was over. If they were to hazard a guess, a likely answer would have been everything.
Lovely.
It was generally agreed that the first one to notice this was Dr. Viktor Balakirev. Dr. Balakirev, though a veteran of many a dangerous experiment and not one to be easily surprised, couldn't believe what his eyes, or rather his high-powered telescope, were telling him. What Dr. Balakirev couldn't quite believe was that a routine scan of the Crab Nebula revealed nothing but empty space where a rather conspicuous and rather hateful star was supposed to be. The alarm was raised. A dozen more telescopes were commandeered from various facilities and agencies, and there was no small amount of shouting and running around. The star, however, stubbornly refused to reappear, despite Dr. Balakirev's insistent claims that
a star isn't a bloody remote control. You don't just lose it.
the next one to experience this strange lack of all things strange was D6821356. Though he couldn't quite appreciate the magnitude of the occasion, he didn't know he was supposed to be the bait in what most assumed would just be another futile attempt in an endless series of failures. D6821356 also didn't quite know what to feel when he entered the armored vault to discover nothing more than a badly mangled skeleton when the acid bath was stopped.
So, what do you guys want me to do with that? You have a bone to pick with me or something?
Really?
The joke was lost on the assembled researchers,
Of course it
who
was.
now had more important things to worry about than D6821356's poor sense of humor. So began the end. When SCP-294 was prompted to produce a cup of joe, it made a serviceable cup of cappuccino, which utterly failed to contain any D-class flavoring. In SCP-1981, Ronald Reagan spoke only of evil empires and managed to keep a perfect complexion throughout his speech.
What?
SCP-902 was opened and discovered to be empty, and no one could quite remember why they feared it so much in the first place. SCP-076 was found to be similarly empty, though no one forgot what scared them about it. When SCP-1867 was asked if it realized it was a slug, it didn't think for a second to object, since it very clearly was. Besides, it didn't understand the question. SCP-085 was gone from its canvas, and its inky plains and fields felt bare and empty, without the presence of a young woman who once inhabited them. They found the clothes which once belonged to SCP-1440 near the top of Mount Everest. Next to them, a single word was written in the snow: free. Around the world, the echoes of the end became seismic shocks, and no one was spared from their influence. The Church of the Broken God was wiped off the face of the earth. It isn't easy to maintain a religious organization when all of your artifacts crumble to dust, and it's even more difficult to do so when half of those artifacts are inside your head. Marshall, Carter, and Dark Limited, having lost most of their stock and shortly after most of their members, soon faded into obscurity. Their once busy clubhouse, a hub for all things mysterious and expensive, became a place for elderly gentlemen to read the Sunday paper in peace and doze in comfortable leather chairs.
This is a place where the anomalous has ceased to be. The anomalous has absolutely ceased to be.
The Global Occult Coalition, after it became clear that the threats it was created to thwart were gone, was soon disbanded. The budget once dedicated to fighting the forces of the unknown was allocated to some of humanity's more mundane needs, such as the prevention of global warming and the development of more advanced nuclear weapons.
Oh, lovely.
No word was heard from Dr. Wondertainment for a long time. A year after the end, a new line of Dr. Wondertainment toys was released, while Dr. Wondertainment's Shooty Man's Vengeance was a perfectly decent game. It was clear his or her heart wasn't in it. When Foundation agents arrived at the current supposed location of the factory, they found nothing more than an ordinary canned vegetable factory. The capital F was clearly no longer needed. The Serpent's Hand lost a considerable number of its members, and with no cause to rally behind, was destroyed by the Chaos Insurgency.
Of course.
The insurgency itself soon tore itself asunder like a mad dog, biting in its own innards. Very few were left to be caught and executed by the Foundation. The members of Are We Cool Yet never did become cool. Nobody was never heard from again. The Unusual Incident Unit continued chasing flying saucers and reports of Bigfoot, this time entirely unrelated to SCP-1000. Its agents didn't really notice. The Foundation,
I love the fact that I actually got at least a couple of the references in this so far.
as resilient as ever, was the last one standing. As the years passed, however, the reasons for its continued existence grew fewer and fewer. With all things anomalous gone, the Foundation had lost its purpose. Site after site was closed down. Personnel were let go or, in the case of the few remaining D-Class, terminated.
Go figure.
Soon, only one part of the organization remained. It was the last meeting of the O5 Council. There were no heartfelt speeches or commemorative plaques, because even at its end, the O5 Council was a serious body of men and women who didn't muck about with nonsense. Instead, there were a few handshakes, a few quiet words, and mostly a whole lot of silence. Finally, one at a time, the former members began to leave, until only 2 were left. So, that's that, I suppose, said 0504, rolling a cigarette. Smoking wasn't allowed in the boardroom, but there was no one left to object. Is this it? Everything we worked for, all our sacrifices, just worthless? Asked 0511,
Is it
staring
really?
glumly at the floor. No, I wouldn't say that. We kept the peace while we were needed, and we did so as best we could. We're simply not needed anymore. Shouldn't I be happy? All of those terrible things we had locked in are gone. After all, humanity is
Safe.
finally safe. From everything but itself. Yes. Then why do I feel like some toy, used and abused, and then discarded when it's no longer useful? It's just the way things are. We were the jailers, the wardens holding back the storm. Now all of our prisoners are gone. There's no need for wardens in quiet days. Come on, let me buy you a drink. Yeah, a drink would be nice. Or 10. Hey, I'm not made of money, you know. The 2 left and closed the door behind them.
But what happened to the good boy? Okay. So, this one was just markedly different than I didn't know what to expect when I first started in this. What would they do if the anomalous just faded away? They would do exactly like is in here. the GOC disbands, considering their job well done. I do understand why that guy said the sentiment, you got used up and then you're not useful anymore. So just get tossed away. That's life. That's life. But I couldn't imagine being those guys, the O5 Council, when you've been doing everything that you can to prevent like the worst kinds of horrors, and then suddenly all need for that is gone. There's no need to pass on that wisdom that you've gained. There's no need to pass on that experience or anything like that. There's no need to reflect on. There's no need to train. It's just legitimately, it just goes away. I don't know who wrote this, but this is actually sad for me. And the reason that it is because I can kind of sympathize with that notion of not being useful anymore, of your purpose kind of vanishing. If you guys don't know much about me, I have a problem with my right arm. I used to do construction. I used to do a lot of fine motor work, and I can't anymore. And that has caused a lot of problems with me. I actually started the YouTube channel. Well, I've been trying to figure out what I wanted to do. It's not easy to change careers when all your skills are bound up in one area. So I started using some other skills. I started talking, writing scripts and stuff like that. But I constantly, like anytime I do anything for an extended period of time, my hand starts going numb. Like right now, these two fingers right here are completely numb. I can't even feel them. When that started happening with me, I lost the ability to do any kind of manual labor for any kind of extended period of time. Like if I built my own deck in 4 hours, and the last hour I only had to put on a few more boards, but it was agonizing because my hand kept on seizing, it kept on clenching, and it wouldn't let go. And I got the first part of the porch built up, and it took me 3 hours to do that. And then the last few boards felt like an eternity because I was just hurting so bad. And for me, it really does suck because I really enjoyed what I did. And then all of a sudden, even though I really wanted to do it, there was no possibility for me to anymore. The work that I enjoyed was gone, whether or not I wanted to admit it to myself. So I kind of relate to the people in this story. There are some stories that aren't about things that you have had happen to you in your life but still resonate. And this is one of them, for me particularly, because I'm still trying to figure out how to get back on my feet from getting knocked down those years ago. And it has been difficult at times because I went from knowing how to do things to feeling practically useless. And I went from being in one place in my life to being in a complete other inside of a day. This originally just, my hand would cramp up and I'd be like, well, that's kind of weird. Just give me a second. I'll put some ice on it or take some ibuprofen. And then all of a sudden it seized up one day and that was all she wrote. And, so for me, I kind of relate to this because, what are they going to do now? What are they going to do now? They've been doing this for so long. What are they going to do? How are they going to get along? Guys, enough of that sob story. Guys, TheVolgun makes some of the best SCP content as far as just general knowledge. He also does things like this. It's utterly impressive. I love it all. If you would like to support TheVolgun, go check out his links. They're going to be in the description below. And if you'd like to support me, well, a like and a comment does wonders. But if you'd like to support the other means, there's a Patreon down below, and PayPal, all that other kind of good stuff. Guys, I'll catch you next time. And whatever you do today, just don't take for granted the things that you can do today, because you might not be able to do them in the future. I'll catch you guys next time.